I'm going to go ahead and thank you guys for joining us today. For those of you who don't know, this webinar is brought to you by Join. We're the construction collaboration software. I'd say we are the premier pre-construction intelligence platform. So thanks for coming in. But this is really about collaboration in the industry itself. And we brought this unique panel together to talk about driving success with collaboration. So the title is Drive Success with Collaboration, and it's really how you can set up your projects from the beginning in a collaborative fashion that's really going to help ensure a positive outcome at the end. And we've heard a lot about this throughout the industry. You're hearing a lot about collaboration, and we felt like it was a good time for us to bring this group together to talk about it. A few notes for today. My name's Jeff Sample. I'm the new head of communications here at Join, and I will be your host for this next hour. And we really appreciate you giving us our time. I also have my head of customer success, Gustav Chodo, in the background to answer any technical questions. This is also going to be an interactive session, so please ask your questions in the Q&A. You can chat them to Gustav as well. He's going to be there and gathering them for us throughout the entire session so that we can ask them. So really, this is about you. We have some preset questions. We're going to do some talking here, but it's really about you all asking us those questions. So thanks again. And, without further ado, we're going to kind of get into it. So I'd like to thank and welcome Elizabeth Geiser, Pre-Construction Director at Barton Malow. Elizabeth, why don't you introduce yourself?
So like you said, Jeff, pre-construction director. Wow, that's a hard word to say today. At Barton Malow, I've been here for 21 years, background in mechanical engineering, and started out estimating there, and now am involved with the majority of our large and complex projects. And of the panelists, the baby Join user here, the newest of the group. So
yeah,
but excited.
You're early on in your adoption and your usage, right?
We are. Yep.
Well, it's awesome, and we've kind of laid that out. We tried to get a good swath, but you have a lot of industry experience. How long have you been in the industry?
21 years.
21 years. All right.
I know, it's hard to believe, but yeah. I started when I was like 10.
Yeah, I was going to say you started really young. I mean, I don't think the labor laws were allowed. They didn't enforce it at that point. So.
Right.
Well, thank you for joining us, and we really appreciate having you and Barton Malow as a customer. So now, Dawson Jones, Senior Estimator at Swinnerton. Why don't you give us an introduction and tell us a little bit about your experience?
Okay, happy to. Dawson Jones, Senior Estimator here at Swinnerton. Been with Swinnerton for about 6 years, in the industry about 18. Most of that time I've been in the pre-construction realm, all here in actually the Denver market. So that's where I currently work and call home. So my experience with Join, Swinnerton's been working with Join for about 2 years now, actually. And I got to kind of test out Join on my second to last project. Big opportunity there with a lot of VE going on. So I got to use Join on that one, and really, really enjoyed it. Actually, really liked the software and really liked what it brought to the table. So that's my Join experience.
Awesome. Thanks, Dawson. And now, last but not least, Walker McDonough, Pre-Construction Manager at McCarthy. Why don't you give us an introduction, Walker?
Yep. So Walker at McCarthy, I've been in construction for 15-ish years. Started as a union laborer up in the Chicago area, and then slowly made my way down to Texas, where I'm currently mostly working on large commercial projects. Currently working on a cultural center here in Houston, where we've been a pretty heavy Join user on this current project. And the architect, the owner, and us, I think, have all been very pleased. And it's certainly gone a lot better for me than some of my previous experiences, getting having Excel lists, just kind of beat up.
Yeah, the old tool sets are pretty rough, aren't they? Which is kind of what we're here to talk about. So I'm gonna pose some questions here. We're gonna go to one more. So just an open Q&A, guys. So reminder, please ask your questions. Just go ahead and ask them in the Q&A or chat them to the panelists, and we'll handle taking care of it from there. We appreciate it in the Q&A. No need for any slides from here on out. Everybody's got their names up, so we'll know who everybody is. But I want to start off with a set of questions here. So for your project teams, Dawson, I'd really like you to describe what collaboration means to pre-construction. I mean, collaboration is a pretty big term across the board. But in pre-construction, it has some particular meanings and some particular applications. So can you talk a little bit about your experience there?
Yeah. So for me, a lot of it's in the trust and the candor that you get with collaboration. So the idea behind it is, I mean, we're all different entities, different companies. For me, collaboration means we're all kind of putting aside maybe personal agendas and coming together to help the project as a whole. Maybe it's not the top priority for Swinnerton, but it's the best thing for the overall project. And so we can get to that point of a project, and you can collaborate in that fashion across all the different disciplines, whether it's design, owner, subcontractor. That's where true collaboration really starts to happen.
And talk about how that's evolved for you as the tools have evolved. I know there's been an evolution of the tools that you guys are capable of using that bring people in. I mean, obviously, this is one of them right here, right? You know, Elizabeth, you mentioned this on the call. You know, you're in the office today, but Zoom's the new norm. So can you, Dawson, talk a little bit about how the tools have evolved for you and how the application of it's evolved for you?
Oh, yeah, definitely. So obviously, I mean, we've been in an Excel trend log VE format for years. Using Join has been definitely a new tool for us. And it's actually really opened up the opportunity for ourselves and the owner. I have 2 projects right now that are really heavily in Join, right? And where it was a really cool opportunity for us. The first one, it's breaking the old cycle for the owner. Like, the information is 100% out there. It's easy for you to look at, and you just have to go access it. And getting the owner to break that cycle of, well, they're used to having a meeting every week, every other week to review the list, and then I PDF it and send it to them. And then, we walk through it. And then, so now it's like, well, guess what? I did something on Tuesday. The meeting's not till Thursday. You can go in on Wednesday and look at it, and you can comment, and you can actually get ready for the next item on Thursday. So we're not just sitting around stagnantly waiting for something to happen, and then next week we do it again, and then the week after we do it again. Join, and this tool actually really helps us speed up that process, because we can communicate between meetings. The architect can go in and look at the item, and all of a sudden, I had a job where the owner was really struggling to understand the VE trend we were talking about. The architect saw that during the meeting, went and highlighted the drawings the way it needed to happen, attach it to the join item, and I'm in the talking about it. I can pull it up right there instantaneously, and it's tagged and stays with that item from now on, so the owner can kind of refresh themselves later on. So it's been a really cool tool that we can kind of continually use and populate as we go along.
So all the information was there. You were just able to present it and really get your point across and get a decision made, which, I mean, really, isn't that the point of pre-construction? And each part is getting somebody to make a decision and move forward with the project, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
Cool. Well, Walker, you're shaking your head. I want to kind of offer the same thing up, especially since you have a lot of field experience. So you've seen what collaboration might mean across the board. How is it differ? What does collaboration in pre-construction mean? And maybe how is that a little bit different from your experiences as you moved through the chain?
Well, the pre-construction, a lot of it is about, building trust and having, a lot of transparency, which Join has helped with. It helps kind of just build all of that, trust that, the owner is getting, accurate information, and you're not trying to, like, I'm not going to give you full value on this VE because I got to, like, hide some mistakes or sins over here. And then the architect also wanting to, make sure that, they have a vision and a design that they're trying to protect through this VE process. And so, just making sure that everyone knows that, there is a common goal, and hey, here is all the information I have. On the field side, a lot of the collaboration is it can be very similar, right? Subs putting work in don't want to have to. No one wants to go have to tear work out, right? So, doing that little bit of extra work up front to make sure that you don't have to go back to areas, you don't have to open up a wall because the outlet got missed, or people aren't running carts into no work and damaging it, right?
Well, no,
No
you
one
hit,
wants to go back to an area of the building that they left, right? So sometimes that little bit of work up front saves a lot of headache on the back end.
well, yeah, that's that collaboration in the field's really trying to keep up and catch up. But if you do it in pre-construction, you do it ahead of time, you can do that. You don't have to put and go back and, cut another hole in the wall, put another outlet in, or everybody loves ripping out work, right, Walker? That was your favorite thing, is to go out and take work out you already put in.
Yep.
Yeah, nobody really wants to be doing that. So, Elizabeth, for you, for your teams and from your perspective, talk about collaboration in construction. We've heard trust, we've heard transparency. What are the things you see to it?
Well, I mean, I feel like they did a really good definition of what collaboration is, both Dawson and Walker. But I do think, especially in pre-construction, like a lot of it's relationship building. It's like Dawson said, trust, and just having that communication, probably just open communication and clear communication, because so many times, we're saying something and we know what we mean, and someone's hearing something completely different. So I think that's the nice thing about, I think that we all probably are coming from, or maybe even still using Excel for some kind of tracking of information. So, how is that information getting put in? Are we just listing it out? And then where's the backup file? Did we do the backup file on a piece of paper, or did we put it in some really greatly saved name file that you can't find anymore after you very strategically stored it? So, I mean, what I like about Join is you have and can link, the drawing or the sketch or whatever information you have that you're doing your cost analysis from, right within the item. And then you can list out all of the detail that comes to that price that you're going to show for the item. So you don't have to go on a hide and seek adventure, and it's just all right there for you.
Yeah, nobody in pre-construction is giving up Excel completely, but my
No.
favorite is those wonderful file names and folder structures. I feel like pre-con folks have this innate ability to nest folders inside of folders, and you never have trouble finding what you need then, right?
Death by double click.
I've never heard that. That's going to be like the tagline for this, is death by double click.
Yeah.
That's great. So you hit on it, and Walker, you kind of talked about this, and I want to kind of go back. I know I'm going off script on you, but you said transparency, and that is a word that I feel like makes a little bit of shivers in the construction space. How have you guys overcome it? And, what does that mean for you? Why is it important to have transparency? And has it been as scary as I think a lot of people listening in might think it is?
So on the project I was working on previously, there was a giant budget overage and a big VE effort, and it was all done in Excel. And every week we would go through the list of items, and there just wasn't, since all they could see were the big headline numbers by item. And sometimes an item might touch, it might touch one thing, but it can touch 10 things, right? And so, getting everyone to understand, how you priced it, what went into that, and making sure everyone thinks that it's, accurate and fair isn't always easy when all they can see is one number, right? And then I think everyone that's been in Excel long enough at some point has been bit by a formula error, right? And so, some clients come in with like a fear of Excel, knowing that some of those they've had formulas by them in the past. So on this one with join, again, another big VE effort, this time every item, I was able to list out everything I considered in that item, right? I removed this many linear feet of pipe and replaced it with this, or, hey, we're getting rid of, this many square feet of this wall finish, and we're going to replace it with this many square feet of this wall finish. This is the unit price, we're budgeting for this, the unit price we're budgeting for that. And we just said, here is all of it. And then we get on Zoom calls, right? And we go through all of it, and we'll have it all open in the middle of the call. And sometimes they're like, okay, we understand, or we were actually thinking about it this way. And we'll update the items live in meetings, and whoever is presenting will click the refresh button, and everyone oohs and ahs. And it's been a much more pleasant experience this time around.
You just talked about transparency and pleasant in the same sentence. I'm just going to let you go, Elizabeth, while I just absorb that one for a second, because you don't hear that very often.
Yeah, no, I think what Walker was saying just sparked one of the features within Join that I like, that I think is definitely missing in Excel, is just the optioning. So really understanding, you have to do 3 different lobby option prices, and you're not adding all 3 of those costs. So understanding, or shrinking the size of the lobby, whatever, but to really understand what's the highest and lowest magnitude change, that's a lot easier in Join, and a cool function that's out there that isn't through Excel, or we haven't found a great way to work around it anyhow.
Well, and we're hopefully that's the idea, right? We're not trying to work around functions. We're trying to present things in a different way. In fact, it's really not about the tool itself being seen. It's about, again, getting back to that information and allowing them to make an informed decision that everybody feels good about. I mean, that's something we've heard consistently, is that, in the situation you were talking about, Walker, someone will make a decision, but they never really feel good about that decision at the moment. It's later on down the line when it goes in and it's installed and they get a chance to really physically see it. But that's a long period of time in some cases, right? We're pre-conning out 18 months in advance in some things, right? So, I mean, Dawson, you're nodding. I mean, you've got to have some feedback on this transparency and the ability to really remove barriers to decisions.
Yeah, so we had a school project recently that had, the cool thing in Join is they've got this category, customizable categories where you can go in and create whatever categories you want. You can filter it through all those different categories. And we had a project recently where we have an owner who, if you don't give it to him in paper, it doesn't exist. Technology is not his friend, doesn't use it well. We pulled him into our conference room. We were going through it, and this was the first job we were going to roll Join out on. And we also have an internal guy that's almost, just slightly above him in technical savviness. And the two of them were seeing this process for the first time, and we threw it out there. And the whole time the owner kept saying, pausing, this is amazing. Where did this come from? And it's so easy to use. And he followed along beautifully without us having to kind of coach him on how it was working. And he'd ask a question. And so our chief estimator was sitting there and would just, boom, he'd flip the switch on it and filter it a different way, exactly how the owner wanted to see the information. And it just made it, it communicated everything we needed to so smoothly. And a 2-hour meeting, we walked away with, our GMP set. The owner had an idea of where the budget was going to change and where he had opportunities to make different choices and decisions. It was something you would never have gotten to with an old Excel file. So.
Yeah, that the tool would really get in the way. And so they got out of the way again and really got going. I want to keep it going a little bit because, you know, you guys have given us your kind of definitions of collaboration, given us some really cool kind of anecdotes about how the software is working, but also just how your processes are working. I love that, you know, each of you has a process for collaborating. That's an intentional thing for you to do, but every project team is unique, right? They're all a little bit different. So talk about maybe some of the successes. And I probably should have said this at the beginning, but everybody who's listening, we're all in the trust tree here. We're not going to run out. You know, we can talk about failures. Collaboration doesn't always work. And it really depends on the uniqueness of the team itself. So Walker, why don't you talk about some of your experiences? I know you've had some varied success with collaboration in different teams.
You want me to talk about success or failure?
Well, we always talk about failure first, and and then I'll spin you on the end.
So, you know, so sometimes in everyone's best effort to be collaborative, you know, you roll out a new tool and you try to walk people through the steps or process for whatever this new tool is, right? And, some roll out a little easier than others, and you know, sometimes you deal with people reading the first half of the instructions and not, you know, the second half of the instructions, and so, you know, you're getting people to jump in and use the tool, but they're not, you know, the end result still can come back a little clunky to you. I know, you know, trying to invite, you know, large user groups to Bluebeam sessions has been met with varied success for us. Sometimes it works great. Sometimes, you know, we're not getting the comments back the way we asked for them, which leads to some clunkiness. So sometimes it's it can be rough. Just people don't pick it up the way you want them to, and sometimes you try to roll something out, but, you know, on their end they still have a process that they have to follow, and you're creating some extra work for them, so you don't really get the buy-in that you were looking for. But if you can make it easy, you know, or alleviate some work for the other users, then I do tend to find more success.
Well, and your experience has been with that. I want to jump to you a little bit because we've seen out of you some of the most collaborators in a single project we've seen, and so that means you've been able to overcome that success. Is there any one thing, or is it a sprinkling of things that kind of made it? So you got a secret sauce you can share with everybody?
Well, we invited a bunch of people, and then we're asked to invite a bunch more on this latest joint project. And I think we were even a little surprised with how many people actually went on and made accounts, and you know, people were taking screenshots of items and joining and saying, "Hey, can you explain this to me?" Yeah, I know in meetings, you know, people get excited watching the number come down and down and down. But, you know, early on, we just, you know, we said, "Hey, this is what we're going to use." You know, other people in the company have used it a lot, but it is like new to like this group. But, you know, we're going to try it, and we played around a little bit, and then when we unveiled it to the larger group, right? You know, we just kind of there was a meeting where we said, "Hey, these buttons do this, those buttons do that." But, you know, I think part of the magic was a little bit of luck, but, you know, part of the magic was, you know, them also just liking the tool.
It's a little honesty too there, right? Like sometimes it's better to be lucky than good is what we always say. So, I mean, that's good. I'm going to actually turn it over. Elizabeth, you had a question.
Well, I had a question for Walker. I was just curious because we're starting our first really collaborative join project. We had another one that we were kind of doing the parallel effort to do the trust game, because I think that all of us in pre-construction can know how finicky and resistant to change estimators can be. So I'm right there so I'm throwing stones at my own house. But I guess I was just curious, you know, as we're starting to invite people, I was curious, when you invited people, did you offer training or have them trained prior to inviting them to the project, or what did that process look like? Because, well, I had a plan, but I just wondered if my plan was a good plan.
So we invited everyone. There was a mass invite. I think we invited 1 or 2 people early just to say like, hey, this is the tool. But then there was the mass invite, and then the following meeting, we gave everyone the 20-minute crash course on what we knew about Join and kind of what we thought they would want to look at, and what tools we thought they would want to use. But that invite gave a chance for ahead of time, they had a chance to kind of go on and play around if they wanted to before any sort of formal training, right?
Well, it's a great question that you asked, Elizabeth, but it kind of brings up this whole, where are you on the tech spectrum? How do you implement tools? How do you do those things? And I'm going to kind of call Dawson out, because Dawson, you're not necessarily the techno optimist, right? You're not the dive in, give me the newest thing and go, are you?
No. In fact, I got a chief estimator who's like always pushing the boundary and always wanting the new thing. And how do we implement it? And how do we incorporate it? I'm always he likes to sit in the same room with me so I can throw stones and figure out how we've been using Teams in our estimating software for where we put our folders for several years now. And I used to joke that it was nothing but for GIFs and memes, because it was just ridiculous how the chat functionality was useless. But now I use it every day and I love it. And Join was a lot the same way. We met with some of the Join people a couple years ago, and I was kind of like, well, this is cool, great, another software for me to learn. And now it's I open up my computer, I turn on my email, and I log into Join, I log into my my plan distribution software, and those 3 things are I live with them every day. Join is super easy. That's the best part about it. I one of the questions that came up was about how do you upload your estimates into Join. So I had a meeting I had to go to. I needed it uploaded while I was in the meeting, my estimate uploaded. So I walked over to one of our young project engineers who was in the office. I said, I sent you a login. I need you to log in. Here's the Excel spreadsheet. Here's the 2 things you need to fix on the Excel spreadsheet before you upload it. And I'll talk to you in 2 hours when I'm done with my meeting. And I walked away, and he uploaded it by himself. He didn't have to have any more training than that. It's a copy paste function. You got to make sure your cells line up. So your description is your description in your Excel file. Your price is in the same place with your quantities and your unit of measure. And it is literally a copy paste functionality that drops right into Join. It's amazing that way, So and Join tells you when you screwed it up. So that's the other great part. So
that is awesome. I mean, it's a great answer, and I think each of you is probably doing estimating differently, but Elizabeth, talk about it. Is that kind of the same one? It's a great question that Tony asks, because we are, whenever we bring up who we are, you're an estimating software. No, we are not the estimating software. Just so everybody listening, we are not that side of things. We are actually the collaboration side of things. We don't want to take that away from you. So maybe Elizabeth, talk a little bit about how that is for you guys.
Yeah, so putting the estimate in, super easy. We use WinEst for our estimating software. And so just kind of lined up my columns, like someone said earlier, the customizable sorts. So whatever WBS we're using, added columns for that in my view prior to copy pasting, and then just had my WinEst view match my Join view and copy paste. And Control A selects everything, and you can hit delete if you made a mistake. And if one of the codes that came over is slightly different than what was in Join, you can fix one and Control D, fill down, and that's a beautiful function too. So you don't have to go find it all over again. So yeah, super user friendly.
That's awesome. Thank you. Walker, I mean, from a third there, I'm not sure what you guys are using for estimating, but how is that whole process for you guys?
Also in WinEst. But yeah, I mean, it's very similar, on the estimate upload, then I attach a copy of the WinEst so people, because, I'll just enjoy, and I'm just putting in the, for each work category, here's my dollar value for the work category. But if they want more detail about what is in that work category, the WinEst is there for them to look at. And then even in the individual items, right, I can, for the line items within the item, I can assign work categories to all those, right? So at the end of this long VE process, I already know what my budget for every work category should be if I were to get a set of drawings that actually matched all the VE we had just done.
That's awesome. And Elizabeth, you mentioned this. And I have this thing in the industry. I got to do this. You said WBS. So that's a work breakdown structure for anybody that's not a usual estimator. Any estimator on here is going to get what that was, but this work breakdown structure. Talk about a little bit about the supporting of work breakdown structures and, how it might help you to be able to visualize some of that complicated information. Because you guys use a pretty extensive work breakdown structure.
Yeah, so I mean, it's nice that you can customize it for every project. And like we talked about, every project is different, right? So current project that actively working on has multiple different pieces of building that we need to split out, and then kind of groups that are managing within. So I mean, having that finite level of detail where you can track, like, is my group tracking to their target for this specific area of the building? That would be a nightmare in Excel, and so easy to do in Join. And then we were actually struggling early on with how to take the data and then plug it into what we would call our summary sheet that is encapsulating, the totals for all of them, plus all of the change items. And the markup feature within Join has been greatly improved and actually functions just like Excel right now. So you can do all of the circular referencing you want without getting an error and having to, get that. I don't know why it doesn't stay saved when you've already allowed iterations, but it doesn't, and you have to go back in there. So whatever. But yeah, so that was like a pleasant surprise in trying to, so we don't have to even, I mean, we're still playing Excel, right? But really, like, everything can happen in Join for summary sheet, and everyone can see not only the direct cost, but the whole cost for the change that's happening.
Part of simplifying the transformation from one to the other is mimicking a lot of that, but then advancing it, right? Take it one step forward. And I think I said this earlier, and I've learned this from my time with pre-construction. We are going to pry Excel out of your hands, never. So, as long as we can augment it, it's kind of like robotics in construction. It's not about replacing the humans, about augmenting them. We're not going to replace Excel, but we certainly can augment it. But I have a good one coming in from the crowd that I really want to address. And Dawson, I think I'm going to go to you because I think I've heard this from you before, but there are owners out there who, this is from Stephen Bowden from McCarthy. How do you address an owner that likes to have paper copies or a file like an Excel file emailed out or printed to view for, say, the trend log or something? How do you handle those right now? Or are you handling them?
I don't think you're ever going to get an owner who wants paper away from paper. So yes, I end up using that the printed form that doesn't always look the best, but the flip side of that, as I send them that report, whether it's the item logs and the accepted and all that, or on the milestone reports where you can actually go in and customize the way that looks, I then take that link where I've made it look the way I want it to, and I send it to him and say, hey, save this in your bookmarks as we update this on a day-to-day basis, or we talk about things, this report automatically updates every time. And so you're never going to get him away from paper. He's going to always want to have some, moment in time snapshot that he's got to go back to. But you can also then get him to start using the tool and the app the way it's intended, which is, okay, log in every day and you'll see that those ups and downs and that movement happening in the way that I want it presented and reported to you. So that's a cool functionality that is. And it's just a copy paste of the URL that's up there.
Yeah, it's a really cool feature you're talking about with the sticky URL, and you can actually fool them. Like, I could imagine, Walker, you using Bluebeam, say, to, you print it to Bluebeam and then you make this little link clickable and say, if you just click on this, you could see this in real time, and you start to slowly, like, they don't know it's happening to them. And then one day they wake up and they don't have any paper in front of them, but yet they have all the information. I mean, I know there's probably tricks like that. Walker, you got any other tricks you might be doing right now, or any ways you're handling that to get information to the owners that might be a little bit more reticent to not use it?
Uh, no. Boy, I wish I had a better answer for it. I mean, I guess I got lucky on this one, right? Everyone on this owner group, just, I think, very quickly saw the benefit uh, to using it. And so very, quickly started using it, and I only got asked to do Excel magic on a very limited, there's very limited times where I had to actually like export something out of Join into Excel, because there were some people in the group that wanted to be able to kind of tinker with numbers behind the scenes, and so there were some moments where I run some exports, and again, some people are always going to want that, but by and large, yeah, this group fell in love with being able to see everything in real time.
Cool. Elizabeth, you're shaking your head. I'll give it to you for a minute. You got any tips, tricks, anything you found? We like to call it the gamification. I've got a few ideas there, but.
The gamification. That's a fun one. Is that what you said?
Oh yeah. If you've never heard of gamification, I'll take a break for a second. Give you this is an ode to Darren Roos. If he's listening, we call him the Rooster. Darren Roos came up with this idea when it came to BIM and modeling. It was really a struggle to get project managers and get field supervisors, et cetera, into the model. So he tried 50 different ways to do it. And then he decided that he would hide every day R2D2 somewhere in the model and offer up a full-size Snickers bar, not a small Snickers bar, the full-size Snickers bar. And lo and behold, every day there'd be a line in the trailer of people trying to find R2D2 so they could get the Snickers bar. And then about 2-3 weeks later, he's sitting with a foreman having a discussion with him, and they said, well, hold on, let me pull that up in the model and show you where it was. They learned it like that. So you make a game out of it. So anything you can gamify. So you mentioned it. I think it was you, Walker, Dawson. I'm not sure which one mentioned the trend line and watching it go up and down. Well, that could be the game, right? Like, how can we gamify this thing, and how can we gamify who can get in and provide more items or provide more options or other things like that. So that's my little gamification segue. We see it being very good to help people adopt technology. I mean, that's why solitaire and other things were involved in Windows in the beginning, because they just got people to figure out how to use a mouse. So I know I tangented you, but anything like that or otherwise, Elizabeth, that you guys use that you found to help you, because there's going to be a process of moving over from the old way to the new way.
I haven't found a process. I do think that food, the food carrot as well as the game was probably the double bonus for that process, because estimators, in my experience, also are motivated by food and enjoy that as well. But no, I mean, I guess being new and not really having went live with a whole team of people, don't really have anything to add, but I'm definitely stealing the gamification idea and seeing how I can utilize that in this and other aspects.
Awesome. Hey, look, I'm going to put a challenge out. Anybody listening in, we're having a gamification challenge. If you can come up with the gamification ideas inside of Join, we'll take them. Anything to drive collaboration, anything to drive usage, because I think that's ultimately, we've seen this whether you're working in a project management software, whether you're talking about even an ERP system. It's all about the more people that use it, the fewer silos that are created outside of it, the more adoption, the better the tool, the better results you're going to get, the better return on that investment. So it's kind of important. I've got a nice one here coming in from somebody who's anonymously asking a question. So all three panelists do use Join. That was part of the question. But do you use it for all of your projects? And if not, what are the project types that are not a fit to using Join? So have you found anything that might be a barrier to using Join? Dawson, I'm going to go to you first. Anything that's been a barrier? I think you've been around longest. So, does it work for everything?
Yes, it works for everything. I haven't found a project where we can't use it. We use it, we use it from conceptual all the way down right now. One of the current projects I'm in right now, I built a cost model. We were interviewing for the project. I built the join model. And a lot of times we'll use cost ranges for conceptual estimating. We'll show the owner kind of where in the trend line you are on the cost range. And what we did was we built all of those items into join. Again, this is part of the interview process that we were in. We showed, kind of could populate it, show them this is your join access, this is your join model, and this is where you fit in that range. And if you see that you need to be higher in your multifamily area, we can increase the cost there. So we could actually just show it to them right as we're interviewing. So I've not found a situation where join doesn't work, because join is, again, it's so easy and so user friendly. I've not found that it doesn't have a place yet. You're not having to go in and paint this thing, and it's cumbersome. And so you want to be more nimble on a $3 million job. Join is nimble, and it helps you get there. So no, I have not found a job yet where it shouldn't be used.
Walker, how about you? You've been around for a while too, and you've seen it used across the board in the company quite a bit. Anywhere where you've seen it not work?
No, and I have actually told any coworker that asked me about it, I've told them I'm never not using join for the VE process, or at least not going back to Excel. This has been so much easier, more accurate, and just a much more pleasant experience than the Excel battle. So I can't think of a project where it wouldn't work.
Awesome. Elizabeth, you're shaking your head too. You might have had some of these experiences as well. Anything for you?
Well, like I said, we're really just go live on our first real invite everyone and not doing a parallel effort. So, but I guess I'm shaking my head because I can see not wanting to go back, right? Just like with any new software, like you get in there and you start learning that there's, like you can do it this way and you can do it this way. And then you go back to how you were doing it before. And it's just like, oh my goodness, this was awful. And like, yes, I can still do it that way. And if I need to, I can, but it feels like it takes so much longer now to do. So I don't know, I'll probably be whiny if we have to go back later, but it wouldn't be the first time that would happen.
Well, and we hope not to see you go back. And I think what that might have been hiding behind there a little bit is, I'm apologizing. I didn't mean to say you're hiding there, but there's a lot of talk about, in the 2021 with the economy going where it's going back to this hard bid world, the design bid build world, and whether or not it might work in that situation. But Walker, you kind of touched on this. Anywhere where you're doing VE, even if you're doing, and Dawson, you said it, even if you're doing VE as part of your pursuit and you're using just an internal team, it's still a better process to facilitate VE, which is really something we do not only on really good design build projects where we're creating these collaboration teams, but you're doing it to win work anyway and trying to drive down some sort of low bid situation. So, maybe Dawson, that's what they were talking about. And can you see, have you used it where you've only had internal collaborators, or you've really gone whole hog and gone outside?
Yes, we have. We've used it gung ho. Without any issues. We haven't gone. So we've gone to architects and owners so far. We've not gone actually to the sub community. We're trying to figure out who the right partners are to bring on board to do that with, and let them test that module for us. And so we've got some jobs here that we will be doing that and turning that part on. But yeah, we use it for internal. We use it for external. All of us here at Swinnerton, we're now jumping on board and using it as a company, and we're using it across different divisions so we can communicate with each other of how we're able to show things and how we're able to explain to owners. Denver's kind of incorporated it first. So
that's great to see. Walker, you've been around for a while, so I know you've got more experience, and McCarthy as a whole has a little bit more experience in the product. Matt Hammer, coincidentally, Dawson, at the same time, you may have looked at the chat, but Matt Hammer from Hazelden asked about, have you had much success with collaboration with subcontractors? So, Walker, have you had any of that? Have you had some time to try that out, and any successes, failures, any information you can provide back to Matt?
I have not tried asking any subcontractors to use Join yet. Just architects and owners. I know some of our West Coast offices have been using Join longer than we have in Houston, so perhaps some of them have, but those stories haven't made it my way. I would be, but I could see where, if I had brought on some design build partners or design assist partners, probably getting them involved just to kind of help, because they're sending me info that I'm plugging into Join to go to the owner, if they're a part of the design, if you bring a sub on to be a part of the design team, there's no reason. I can't think of a reason not to go ahead and give them access and let them, just take me out of the equation, right?
Yeah. Well, Elizabeth, you're shaking your head. What do you got going on there?
Well, so yeah, I don't know if I get a prize and I don't know what kind of prize it is, maybe a full-size Snickers, but we, for the project that we're on right now, we do have trade partners, and it's fast track project that we're, needing to work and be collaborative with. And so we are bringing the subs on and kind of to your point, Walker, just skipping out the middleman. Like if they're in a meeting and hearing about a pricing thing that they need to do, they can add the item and start putting that together. There's no need for them to send anything to me, so then they can go do their thing. So yeah, we're going all in. We're inviting everyone, the owner, architect, sub. So
Well, that's actually awesome because the experience of gamification, I can guarantee you I'm also the swag king here at Join. So there will be something in it for you. We'll have a little bit more. And actually, for everybody listening in, that we're going to follow this on, guys. We have one of our first case studies, white paper, whatever you want to call it, about a project coming out very soon that has a lot of that, where they did move into the phase of bringing in the trades. And I think personally, as somebody who's gotten the opportunity to work across the entire continuum that is construction, I think the more collaboration, the better. And you're right, Elizabeth, we're, Walker, we're putting information in for trades. We can have them in. And as we start to move trust and transparency and collaboration forward, we kind of move the whole industry forward with us, right? We're the tip of the spear in pre-construction here. And the best way to everybody reach in and pull the rope in the right direction. There's no one platform that's going to solve it. We're not up here at Join saying we're going to solve the world's problems, but everybody can reach in and pull that rope in the right direction. And that's what we're doing. We want to see that. And we kind of knew that it would happen with our owners and architects. That's the first place, right? That's where general contractors are used to sitting down and having OAC meetings and doing those things. And naturally progressing, we're going to see not only what you're talking about, Elizabeth, but we'll be building in features, things that drive that usage. Because for us, it is about you guys doing that. We have a couple of minutes to wrap up, and I've got folks that use Join listening, and I've got folks that don't use Join listening. But ultimately, I want to give you guys a moment to maybe, wrap up what collaboration and good pre-construction might mean to the ultimate project success. I think that doesn't get talked about enough. And I know I didn't prep you guys ahead of time with this one, but I'm going to go to Walker first, since I haven't started with you in a little bit. Walker, what is good collaboration? How important is the pre-construction process to the overall construction life cycle?
Okay. So, in pre-construction, we tend to be the bearers of bad news a lot of the time, right? Most of our projects don't tend to start out on budget. So, I think, the good collaboration, it helps, preserve the relationship early on, with the owner, with the design team, right? I'm not trying to hack your design, I am cognizant of, of your budget, Mr. Owner, Mrs. Owner. And so, it preserves the relationship up front. You also are helping protect schedule up front, so you are getting the shovel in the ground when you said you would. And you're setting, you just set the whole project up for more success.
I think you're right. I mean, it's in a nutshell, that's really what it does. Dawson, what are your thoughts on it?
So, I mean, obviously I'm biased that pre-construction is really what construction is all about. But the collaboration that you establish in pre-construction, that trustworthy ownership, goes over to the project team. If you can get an owner and an architect on the same page with you, or you're on the same page with them, and they trust you and you trust them equally, that automatically defaults to the project team. If in pre-construction you're just pulling teeth and you're not gelling as a team, then the project team is typically going to have the same challenge. And so it's also about setting up a project for success, whether it's, like Walker said, the bearer of bad news. So you can sit there and VE the job to death where everybody hates now what is about to be built, and they're not proud of it. And if you can do it in such a way where you're sharing information and working together and getting those trade-offs and those, finding that right balance where you give and you get a little bit on both ends, that flows to the project team and just continually, make something that everybody, really, really enjoys. We had a job that I had to VE. I mean, it was like I got handed to it like CDs or construction documents, and it was like, hey, why don't you VE 25% out of this thing? And I'm like, oh, this is awesome. It's like, thank you so much. I'm so glad that I got given this opportunity. And I had to do it all in Excel, and it was like miserable. And I had like I had all the trends, and then I had like a target I was still tracking, and had to make sure I took I got this trend and I got the savings over here, and I got to take it out of the target and move all the stuff around. I'm like, man, if Join would have been ready like 3 years earlier, that'd have saved me. Like, I had hair, and Join could have saved all of that if I would have had that opportunity. But so, I mean, the ability to communicate and to use this tool to communicate. I mean, I like it where it's powerful for me is you get a set of documents and you put your estimate together, and boom, that's your milestone. Okay, that's like your baseline, and then a lot of stuff happens, and crap, COVID just hit the world, and oh, you know what, steel prices are changing again, and all this stuff happens, and what happens is you're worried about trying to save money and bring it down, but all this other stuff happens at the same time, and you can help owners all of a sudden start predicting the trend and forecasting where they're going, and Join becomes, to me, this software that you use, this estimating platform, even though it's not your estimating platform, between milestones. You got your schematic design and your design development, and you can help your owner realize, hey, you know what, we thought we were going to save a bunch of money, but you got all these other external trends you got to stay ahead of, and it just helps them understand those things and the architect much better.
That's poetic. I loved it, and I love the passion behind it. It's really, it's speaking to what we all need to do. Elizabeth, that sparked a few things for you. I'll let you go.
Yeah. So, I mean, I guess I forget, it's been a lot of time since the initial question, but I think it was, what was the initial question? What does collaboration look like?
No.
Or pre-construction?
Yeah.
Pre-construction is the best part of all the process. That was it?
Yeah, that's it.
Okay. All right.
In a nutshell.
Okay. No, so I mean, I think pre-construction, right? We're beginning with the end in mind, setting the project up for success. I think, what Walker and Dawson said is all true. And I'm just going to pile on to that a little bit more. And Join allows you the platform to have it be more dynamic and not as static as this is my SD, this is the hard copy that you're getting from me. And then, like 3 weeks later, I had a meeting, and really just opening that line of communication to let, the architect know, hey, you're not, we do end up being the the bearers of bad news a lot of times for the architects and engineer. Like they don't want to hear. I feel bad the worst for the interior designers out there of the world. They have such great vision and it's so beautiful. And then, you know, like you end up at vanilla box scenario because you VE'd it. So but yeah, I mean, just I think it allows that platform and area where it's more dynamic. You're talking more. It's not just, I don't know why you added all this terrazzo here. Like, you know that we're over budget. It's just like, hey, you know, I noticed you had terrazzo here. Was there a function reason? Like, did someone tell you that, or could we just have some vinyl right here and save some money? So I just think it opens the door for more dialogue and just collaboration.
I fully agree with you, and you nailed it. Pre-construction is, you know, every phase of construction is important, but the first phase is almost always the most important because it sets the team up. Dawson, you talked about this. There's very few construction projects I've seen that have gone well that had a really poor pre-construction phase. Like that's pretty much a guarantee that the rest of it is going to fall the wrong way. It's not to say it's always going to go great when pre-construction goes well, because you know other things happen down the road, but it really is a predictor and a good one. And you know, with that, I want to let everybody go, but I want to thank you guys first. You know, I really appreciate it. This is my first webinar with Join. You were some of the first customers that I've been able to reach out to and talk to, and I really appreciate you guys for joining us today and telling your stories and being open to answer questions as well. So to us, that's really important. Here at Join, we want to be part of the conversation. We're not just a software, we're a partner in this process. And so there was some good feedback. I hope everybody who asked their questions got their questions answered. If we didn't answer them live, I'm sure Gustav was there. If you guys are listening in and want to learn more about Join, then y'all can go to join.build and check us out there. There's also going to be a survey that pops up when this closes. Please fill that out for me, rate the webinar. It's on me, not on any of the panelists, and talk about maybe possibly future webinars that you'd like to hear about. So reach out and fill out that survey. It'll be really, really quick. With that, I want to thank everyone. I want to thank all the people who joined in and gave us that precious, precious time. If you want to share this webinar, we will be sending it out afterwards. So Elizabeth, Walker, Dawson, I appreciate all three of you. And I thank you for your time today. Take care, everybody. Thank you.